Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This video is going to be on the comic writer uh, Brian K. Vaughan. And I want to kind of highlight this writer because if you're interested in specking on comics, if you're interested in finding good reads, well, it's a good place to start when you find a good writer. A lot of the time when we buy comics or spec on comics, we might not realize that there's a particular writer involved. I mean, there are some that are high profile, like Alan Moore or Miller. There's a few that are well known. And this is another one of those writers that is kind of well known, but maybe under your radar. And I kind of want to highlight him because he's produced some really good, strong books that should be probably picked up before they become way too expensive. So, without further ado, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown of this writer's history. He was a writer for the TV series Lost. He also was involved with writing the story for Marvel's Runaways. This is the comic for that. And this is already becoming a pricey book. So he really got involved with both Marvel and DC. And he wrote stories for many of the major characters. So he created all the characters for Runaways. And he was involved with Green Lantern, Batman, X-Men series, and I think he also did some Spider-Man stuff. So he's very well versed in the Marvel and DC genres, but that's not where he really made his mark. And what I really felt like he made his mark with was a series called Saga. This is Saga number one. This is becoming a very pricey book, and it's a really sought after book. I think number one will cost you a couple $100. So this is a kind of a lower grade. It needs to be pressed, but it is, it's actually, if it was pressed, it'd probably be a high grade. Um, but yeah, it's one of those series that's really cool, very imaginative. Um, One thing that I'm not necessarily keen on about his writing is that it is a bit feminist. So if you don't like the feminism, he does kind of lace it in there. But for the most part, I find that his stories go beyond that and have a lot more depth than just like some feminist agenda. But his stories are really kind of brilliant. They really go all over the place, like in terms of like the stories that they tell. You would think, a lot of writers sort of get stuck into one genre, and they can only really write within that one genre. But this writer, he wrote Lost, and he wrote this Saga, which is kind of a sci-fi, uh, very interesting story. I think they're actually going to come out with more of this series soon, so look for that. Right, I think it's at 54 issue 54 right now. The other series that he did, which is kind of an interesting one, is Paper Girls. And Paper Girls is a kind of a cool series because it is about time travel. It's about a bunch of girl. See, as I said, he is a bit of a feminist. It's about girls who have like a paper route that get sort of mixed into this sci-fi plus time travel story, and it's a really cool read. So definitely one to check out. Another one that is a good story by him is Why the Last Man, and this is a really interesting story because uh, you got a young character who basically becomes the last man alive. All the people that have the Y chromosome die. So, and he's the only one that's left. And they have to figure out how to repopulate the human species. Uh, and it's an interesting story where it takes a whole bunch of twists and turns, and they try to figure out how humanity can survive. So very, very cool stories. And these are all stories that have potential. They're all fairly pricey books already, but they have potential to go much higher. And the reason I say that is like they are the kind of stories that like maybe Netflix might produce a series on because they really cater themselves to that. And Vaughn is one of those writers that he really does tell a good story. So I do believe that you will see in the future, this is my prediction here, a Vaughn series, either Why the Last Man or Paper Girls or maybe Saga. That would be really impressive. And these all have cult followings. So these stories really do appeal to the younger generation. That's, maybe the millennial and the and Gen Z's generations. And they are stories that have that potential to be really good spec books to be buying. So this has just been a kind of a brief little spotlight on a writer that I think should get some recognition. I mean, he's well recognized already in terms of his own accomplishments. He's a very accomplished writer. He's won countless awards. But these are books that if you're looking for like good writing or potential specs to, maybe pick up, these are the ones to look at. The three that I mentioned. I recommend buying issue number 1 of each at least, if you're trying to spec on it. And if you're trying to read it, try to pick up the whole series or the trade paperback because they're worth reading. I've read all the series that I mentioned, and they're all good stories. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other videos and subscribe. Bye.